Good morning and happy Friday. Nice to have you join us today. Nancy Cogar is in the hot seat, the first guest of the morning. She, of course, is an elder law attorney here in town. Good to see you.
Always good to see you, Julie.
So I kind of know Nancy now from our conversations, and she's this really kind of positive, practical, laughy person, and yet you can be serious when you need to be because you're looking out for your clients, right?
Absolutely. I mean, these are heavy issues. So I always tell people I have a strange sense of humor because I'm talking about death, dying, and what to do with your stuff after you're gone.
Yeah, but you know, you mentioned the word heavy. Usually when Nancy comes in, you are kind of peppy. When I asked you this morning what you want to talk about, there was kind of a heaviness that came over you because I guess what you want to talk about today, you really hope people won't have to face.
Right, and that's conservatorships, and that's when the court appoints someone to make decisions for you when you're incapacitated. So to me, Julie, it's really a last resort, and I never think it's a good resort. There are easy ways to avoid it, but if you're going to be under a conservatorship, that means you are in need of someone to protect you, to make decisions for you, manage your personal affairs, financial affairs, healthcare affairs. It may vary based on the circumstance.
Okay, so first I want to let people know that our time, of course, will be a little bit limited, but Nancy does a podcast pretty much once a week, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you've got one that's going to drop today, and this is the topic?
Yeah, we've done it in two parts because this is so complex, but we talk about what a conservatorship is, then the rights that get taken away. I mean, it's serious because you're talking about your right to make decisions for yourself, which we don't sometimes realize is one of our most important rights. You know, that autonomy, where I go, where I spend my time, where I spend my money, you know, how I look at the world.
Okay, so where my mind is going, and other people's mind might go too, is let's just say that something happens to somebody out there, and all of a sudden, you know, it's an unexpected occurrence, and they're incapacitated. So there is a need there, but there is no estate planning, which we'll get to, but real quickly. So now there is this conservatorship need. I would think logically the state would just appoint the closest family member. Is that not what happens?
Well, and then you're talking about the government, and some people would look at that as overreaching. So you have to have a clear and convincing burden of proof. That's, you know, other than the one on the criminal side, this is the highest on the civil side, and it has to be as limited as possible because, like I said, the court is essentially giving your rights over to someone else to protect you, but that's where all that abuse comes from too. You know, you've seen those cases with Britney Spears, with Wendy Williams.
Because then they have access to your money.
Right, and even the, you know, the life care situation.
Right.
Those are all conservatorships. They could have, you know, in my opinion, been handled better with some really comprehensive estate planning, but it's ripe for abuse.
Okay, so your tagline, besides Boomer Time with Nancy Cogar, is what is it that you say? Let's take the something out of aging.
Oh, let's get real about aging.
Let's get real about aging. Okay, so really there is no age too young to begin thinking about it. Is your advice that you should have an estate plan in place so that you yourself have the right to say, this is the person I trust most?
Yeah, absolutely. That just makes sense. I mean, you know, you're driving around, you don't know if you're going to have a car accident, you don't know if you're going to be diagnosed with something. You need to be competent to make these decisions, so you have to have it in place. Just like an insurance policy on a house. You don't want anything to happen to your house, but you buy insurance just in case it does.
So we live in this world now, Nancy, where so many people are advertising, just go online and do it. That I'm sure that sometimes you can get away with that, but this is really complicated because you have to guide them, and I know you will guide them, through scenarios A, B, C, and D. You ask them the questions to get them to think.
Right. So a lot of people don't know what to expect when they meet with me, and I initially sit down and have something called a strategy session because I want to get to know them. Everybody's circumstances are different. They may be married to a second spouse, they may have stepchildren that they don't want to get their assets that they accumulated before the marriage. They may have a special needs child or grandchild. They may have some special circumstance that they need control over, or assets that they want to go longer. So all of that is done to avoid potential of conservatorship. And again, you know how I am about nursing homes being a last resort. I want you to live at home, age at home, be able to maintain your quality of life. And if you need someone to help you, that person is there. You mentioned internet documents. You need documents that are enforceable and specific. Mine are very specific as far as the powers that you would give someone, because, and you've seen this too, there is so much fraud. There is so much fraud that banks, you know, and other institutions are leery of generic looking documents. So, and I think that makes sense.
I'm sitting here looking at you intently because I have all these questions in my mind and I don't have time to ask them. So let me just ask you the one.
Sure.
How do we listen to your podcast?
Well, that's a good question. So you can go to my website, which is nancycogar.com, or I've got a YouTube channel now, Nancy Cogar, Boomer Time with Nancy Cogar. You can see it on Spotify. Okay. You can...
anywhere.
Yeah, everywhere where podcasts are. It's a
All
half-hour podcast. I try to talk about really important issues, digesting them small bites, and make it understandable for someone that's a layperson.
So listen to it, learn a little bit from her, and then if you want to reach out to her, she's right there to help you. nancycogar.com, and there's her phone number, 596-7220.
Thank you, Julie.